President Biden addressed members of his party at the Democratic National Committee's fall meeting Saturday. In remarks during the virtual meeting, the president called for unity as the party looks ahead to next year's elections.
You know, my message is simple. We need to stay together and bound by the values that we hold as a party. Because here's the deal. We won 2020 as a unified party, and we're looked to 2022. As we do that, we need to stay unified. And the question the American people are going to be asking is whether we're helping them and their families in a real way.
The president's comments are trying to bridge a gap between his party's moderate and progressive wings. President Biden has been urging Congress to pass his infrastructure and social spending proposals, but party leaders can't get lawmakers on either end of the Democratic spectrum to compromise on the plans. For more, I'm joined now by Sam Cornale. He is the executive director of the DNC. Sam, good to have you on. So why does the president have to encourage members of his own party to unify?
Well, thanks for having me, Lana. I mean, listen, twice a year, the Democratic National Committee comes together for two pieces of business. First is our intra-party organizing efforts. How are we governing the party itself? And second, and even more importantly, laying out our priorities for the future. And what President Biden's remarks today reaffirmed were that we are strongest as a party when we are unified. And make no mistake about it, Lana, we are unified right now. There are conversations happening about how we are going to get in and achieve our priorities. But at the end of the day, we are 100% unified in those priorities, lowering prescription drug costs, putting more money into the pockets of working families, making the wealthy and well-connected pay their fair share to help underwrite these investments into families, into roads, into bridges, really making a generational investment in the future of our country. And so President Biden's remarks were simply an affirmation of the trajectory that he has set this party on. And make no mistake about it, we are strong and getting stronger.
Sam, I appreciate that that the DNC's line is that the Democratic Party is 100% unified, but that's not what we're actually seeing in Congress. And in fact, Congresswoman Jayapal singled out Senators Manchin and Sinema, again, all from the Democratic Party, for dragging their feet on the president's infrastructure bill, calling them, quote, just two senators, in contrast with 96% of Democrats, according to her. So the DNC obviously needs to be doing something to address the split in the Democratic Party right now. What are you guys doing?
Well, one thing we are not going to do is get in the middle of the legislative sausage-making process, and there's a lot of it happening right now. And I'm confident that we will get to a point that we are investing what we need to in the future of this country and working families and asking the wealthy and well-connected to pay for it. What I'm most focused on, though, are the elections happening right now this year and how we're investing to prepare for next year's midterms. We have an opportunity, and I am hopeful and optimistic, but we are taking nothing for granted to take advantage of an opportunity to buck historic trends in the midterms. And you look at what's happening in Virginia right now, we've invested more this year than ever before from the DNC into that Virginia coordinated campaign and governor's race. In New Jersey, we are in a very strong position to reelect Governor Phil Murphy. And you saw what happened in the California recall. As I said before, Lana, am of the firm belief that we are strong as a party and getting stronger, thanks to the leadership of President Biden and Vice President Harris and the millions of grassroots donors who have powered this party.
So the polls are tight in both Virginia and New Jersey, which you mentioned, and both of those gubernatorial races have in the past been very strongly Democratic. Midterm elections, as you know, are typically rough for the president's party, and it wouldn't take much for Democrats to lose control of both chambers. Is the DNC working very hard to try and prevent that? Are you looking at that as a very serious consideration?
Each and every day, and Governor McAuliffe and Governor Murphy addressed the DNC membership today. An overwhelming majority of Virginians agree with Terry McAuliffe that the best way to deal with this pandemic, to end it, to rebuild and maintain a strong economy, to keep our kids safe, is to ensure that every eligible Virginian is vaccinated. Terry's not just talking about it either. To create good jobs, end the COVID-19 pandemic, and build a stronger Virginia. He's got plans. And Glenn Youngkin is simply not a reasonable Republican. This guy's Trump in a sweater vest. And, you know, we never trust a fox in sheep's clothing. He's promoting an extreme anti-abortion agenda, much like what we are seeing down in Texas right now. He's emboldening anti-vaccine extremists. His own lieutenant governor candidate refuses to say whether or not she's vaccinated. That's not the future that Virginians deserve. That's not the future that the Democratic Party is campaigning on. And we're working like heck to make sure that every single Virginian knows the stakes of this election this year, just as they have in the past 4 years when they put Democrats in a strong governing position.
Sam, I want to ask you about a column in the New York Times that's getting a lot of steam this week. It looks at analysis from data scientist David Shore, who says that Democrats will likely lose their majority in the Senate for the next decade. What do you make of this, and what is your assessment of what the country would look like if that were in fact to happen?
Well, there's simply nothing that is precedential about where we are right now in our country. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. We have an entire political party that refuses to accept the results of last year's election. They are promulgating anti-vaccine misinformation. They refuse to stand up to a former president whose approval ratings are tickling the low 30s. So there's simply no precedent to where we are right now as a country. And there's only one political party that is talking about working towards governing in a way that can lead us out of this crisis. So I take nothing for granted whatsoever. I'm not saying that that destiny and success are intertwined over the next year plus. We are going to work like crazy to buck historical trends, but make no mistake about it. If you are a Democrat, if you're an independent, if you are a reasonable Republican who does not like the trajectory of this country or the party, you have to keep Democrats in power and give us more of it. We need more state houses that are run by pragmatic, forward-thinking Democrats. And at the end of the day, demographics are by no means destiny. And I'm not going to sit here and quibble with data scientists. What I'm going to do is get right to work, continuing our work to elect more Democrats and take this fight to Republicans.
Are you surprised, Sam, the position that your party finds itself in right now at this place? Historically, obviously, the president's party usually has some troubles in the midterm election, but it does seem like the Democratic Party is much more divided. And even when you mentioned McAuliffe's comments recently saying that President Biden is not well liked in Virginia at the moment. Is this an uphill battle that the DNC is facing, and how do you actually bring those sides together?
Well, in Virginia, Lana, we always knew this race would be close. It's close every year, especially after a presidential year. Governor McAuliffe has a proven track record, and I would argue with the very premise of your question about Virginia. Governor McAuliffe is popular himself. His policies are popular, and we are in this fight, and we're going to win this fight. Nationally, listen, Democrats are not divided. I don't know how many times I can say this, but when you look at what we agree on, where we are going with this historic generational investment, which I am confident will get done, lowering costs, we agree on that. Expanding access to affordable health care, we agree on that. Investing in roads and bridges, we agree on that. The results of the 2020 election, we agree on that. That more Americans getting more vaccines will put our kids and our families in a much safer, healthier position, as it will the economy. We agree on that. The real division here is between everyday Americans and the Republican Party, who disagree with everything I just said. They would rather protect dark money interests and the wealthy and well-connected than invest in schools and our families and the future of this country. And so that's the real division between everyday Americans, between the voters who put Democrats in power and where the Republican Party is going. And I would stipulate that it's the Republican Party who are out of lockstep with the American people.
All right. Finally, Sam, before I let you go, there's talk within the DNC about dropping Iowa as the first contest in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. Full disclosure for anybody who doesn't know, I am a Hawkeye, proud of that too. Is that going to happen?
Well, I'm a neighbor. I'm a proud Wisconsinite. So we have the Midwest in common. That's a process that unfolds every year after a presidential cycle, and it will be no different this year. Nothing is written. The conversations have not even started. Importantly, that was not an action or a conversation that was started even at this meeting. So that is a next year, as it is every year, issue after a presidential campaign cycle. And we are committed to a transparent, robust conversation about what the primary process should look like and how it will put Democrats in a position to maintain and expand our majorities.
All right. Sam Cornale, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you, Lana. It was great to be with you.